Okay, welcome back to the OTB channel. So today this is going to be quite a short video, but I want to highlight a couple of terminal text editors that don't get much love, and I think they should, because not all of us need to use Vim with all its huge and really powerful functionality, and for basic editing, sometimes it's just easier to use something like Nano or even Micro. See you after the intro. Okay, welcome back. Now, despite the thumbnail, which is a little bit of clickbait, first to admit it, I'm not denying in any way, shape or form that Vim is a superb text editor. It's incredibly powerful, and anybody who spends any reasonable amount of time editing files should probably learn it. And for the almost 18 years that I've been using desktop Linux, I must admit, the last couple of years, I've moved more and more over to Vim. But for the first 16 years, I didn't use Vim. I found it quite complicated to use with the command and insert interface. And for me, it just wasn't intuitive. And so I got by for most of the time using Nano. And I remember going to an interview for a job with an IT company, and they asked me as part of the interview, you know, which editor do you use, Emacs or Vim? And I said, I use Nano. And I got the strangest look. But at the end of the day, Nano will do the job for most people. And if you don't want to learn the intricacies of a powerful editor like Vim, and you don't have the use case for it, Nano might be great for what you need to do. Now, having said that, you know, as you start to deal more and more with config files and scripts, and for me, the turning point was when I started messing with window managers and spending lots of time editing default configuration files, Vim has proved invaluable. I particularly like the plugin system, the color highlighting in particular, where I can actually see the name, or I can see the color that a particular hex number actually relates to visually in the editor. For me, that has been wonderful. But I do still, for basic editing, sometimes move back to Nano, which is a really old school editor. I believe it was originated as Pico, was it, on old Unix systems? But it's been around for donkey's years. And its functionality is pretty good. But I will admit, it is as ugly as sin. But if you want to use Nano, there are some things that you can do to improve it. And in fact, you can even move from Nano itself completely and start using perhaps a more modern editor called Micro, which is very much like an upgraded version of Nano. So today, I just want to look at those two editors, Nano and Micro, present them as options, and use what you want to use. So let's get into it. So let's start with Nano. What you should see here is my terminal, and I'm just going to open up a script that I've called test script with Nano through this command, Nano and whatever the script is. This is actually one of my DWM bar scripts that I've just copied and renamed for the sake of playing with it and demoing Nano. And this is what you get with your plain vanilla Nano. And plain and vanilla is pretty much what you see. It's black and white, it has no syntax highlighting. Nevertheless, it has quite a lot of functionality involved. And when I first moved to Linux, what I really liked was the fact that I had all of these hints about what the shortcuts, the various keybindings do. And I even have access here to a help page. Now you'll see that the key bindings either have a caret in front of them or the word M. The caret actually stands for your control key, and the M stands for the mod key, which with Nano is actually your alt key. So let's just do Control G and have a look at the help. And you can see that you've actually got all of your shortcuts there explained in regard to what each of them does. Now, I won't pretend for 1 minute that this is as powerful or flexible as the likes of Nano, but for what most people want to do, in terms of doing a quick edit of a file, cut, copy, paste, move something around, it's absolutely fine and it's really simple to use. And for many of the key bindings, you can just use them to instantly bring up some additional functionality. So you'll see here the M-N, so M meaning the mod key or the alt key, plus N will enable line numbering. So let me just exit out of this menu, which is Control X, and let's hit Alt and N. And there you see line numbering has been inserted. If I click Alt and N again, it removes it. Now in terms of cut, copy and paste, again, it's pretty simple. I'll move down to this first line, the one with the 2 hashes, or I think those people in the States call this the pound sign. We just call it a hash key or a sharp key. If I wanted to cut that line, well, you can see there that Control K cuts. So if I do Control K, it removes it. If I wanted to paste it back, it's Control U. So Control U, and there you go. What about if I wanted to just copy it? I don't want to cut it. Well, that's easy as well. If you move over here, once again, we've got it as a hint. It's Mod 6. So that will be Alt plus the 6 key. So I'll just do Alt 6 and then find a blank space up here. And if I do Control U to paste, there you go. It's pasted it in. And I'm just going to Control K that to remove it. Now, you're not always going to want to copy or cut entire lines. And if you don't want to do that, that's fine. What you'll need to do is mark the section of text that you want to cut or copy. And you'll find that there is a shortcut here called MA to set the mark. So that's the Alt key plus the A key to set the mark. So if I do Alt A, you'll see there's a little item here that's popped up saying the mark set. And all I have to use now is the arrow keys, for instance, to mark the section of text that I want to copy or cut. So if I did a Control K now, it's gone, a Control U, and it's back. And of course I could do copy as well. So lots of other things that you can do with it. Just bring up the help dialog to see what the different key bindings are. But I found personally that for straightforward, quick editing of a file, Nano does the job. What I was never that keen on, though, was the fact that it doesn't look great. Let's be honest, it really doesn't. And I do like a little bit of colour. And the reason it looks like it does at the moment is because out of the box, Nano doesn't have a configuration file. Once you add a configuration file to it, though, you can change quite a lot of its functionality. And you can change its look and feel from this to this, which not only has syntax highlighting, as you can see very clearly there, but also if you look carefully down at the hints down here, you'll see that some of the key bindings have changed. I found the key bindings a little bit clumsy, but you can now see that copy is Control C, paste is Control V, cut is Control X, and exit is now Control Q rather than Control X. All really simple to do. And I've made a few other modifications as well. So let me show you how we achieve this. Right, well, first of all, As with so much, the Arch Wiki is an absolute mine of information. And although I am actually demoing this on my Arch system, what the Arch Wiki tells you about Nano is probably relevant to the vast majority of distros. And the key thing it makes is that you need a configuration file. And the way you do that is really simple. Go to your .config directory, create a Nano directory, and then copy the default configuration file, which is in etc, and it's just called Nano RC, into your .config Nano directory. You will then be able to configure how it looks, and you will be able to, well, you can enable syntax highlighting if you wish, and there's also a range of other things that you can do, including changing some of the key bindings and changing the default color scheme on Nano itself. So let's go back to that terminal and let me cd into my .config Nano directory, and you'll see there I've now got a file called Nano RC. And if I use Nano to open it, you'll see that it's a straightforward text file, and initially most of the options that you can set here are commented out by default. And as you go through, you'll see that there's quite a lot of things that you can set. Now, I set a few things here, so let's just move down and I'll show you what I set. I have uncommented the set line numbers option. You'll see line numbers here are by default. They were there as soon as I opened it up. I like line numbers in my text editor so I can see what I'm doing. So I've set that by default. What else have I set? I've enabled mouse support right from the get-go, so that if I wanted to mark a piece of text, I can move there with the mouse and just double click or whatever. Mark set, mark unset, to save me messing about with key bindings. What else have I done? Let's have a look. As you can see, I've left most of these things default, but it'll be up to you what you decide to use. I've set what we call soft wrap, so it's word wrapping really for over long lines. It just makes it a bit easier to use. And I've set the tab size. Now, by default, Nano uses 8 spaces, I think it is, for the tab, which is pretty large, to be honest, because most editors tend to use 4 as the default. So I've reduced it to 4. I've also converted tabs to spaces, which just makes life a little bit easier for me. As we go down there, there's also an option to play around with your colours. You can't apply specific themes as far as I'm aware to Nano, but you can mess about with, the title colour and the various elements. And you can see that I've set bold black grey to get this overall look, which fits in with my overall desktop theme. So, yeah, it's looking good. The number colour I've set there as well, and that's for obviously your line numbers. What else have I done? Right, here's the key, syntax colouring. Now, there'll be a few files that are installed by default when you do your Nano installation. And you can include individual files if you want. So, and it tells you here, you can just select the HTML syntax highlighting file, the Python one, or, just generally. There is an option, though, to basically enable all the syntax highlighting files. With this one that says include USR share nano star.nanorc, I just uncomment that and it automatically gives me colour. What else have I done? Right, I've also got the option here to change the key bindings around, and I did show you this initially, and yes, so I've changed Control Q to be exit. I've changed it to Control F to be my find command, and X, C and V for my cut, copy and paste. And that's pretty much all I've done. But what you get, and for me, is a much more usable and nicer looking version of Nano. So if you're struggling to get used to using Vim, and your use case is fairly, straightforward, you're not spending your whole life in a text editor, Nano might be the thing that you consider. It is quite old though, and its functionality is quite limited, and you may want to look at something a little bit more modern that largely seems to be based on something like Nano, but it has a better look and feel to it. And that is called Micro. So let's have a look at this alternative text editor, Micro. Now, I heard about this perhaps about a year or so ago, and I've had it installed on my system for a while, and I keep going back to it, I must admit. I often forget it's installed, and I shouldn't really, because it's a really good editor. It's not there to compete with Vim, let me say that again, but just like Nano, it's an alternative to Nano, and it's almost like an updated version of Nano. It has little or no dependencies. It's available in most package managers. If you haven't got it in your package manager, you simply have to essentially run that command there. You just need curl installed and download the binary to a folder that's in your path, and you should be able to launch it. As I say, it's written in Go. It has a plugin system, and I believe the plugins are written in the Lua language, and it comes with a whole range of different options that go over and above what Nano has. It's very customizable. It has a configuration file in a JSON format. It comes with color schemes already added to it, so you can switch between them. Some of them are true color schemes as well, and you can install other color schemes over and above the default by using its plugin system. And you can change your key bindings as well, and it has mouse support out of the box. So looks pretty good. In terms of the plugins, let me just go to the plugin page here. It's still in the early days of development to a large extent, but pick your plugin here. I mean, you can see we've got a theme there, Monachi Dark, and a load of other things. I've actually used, I'm just looking for the theme that I use, because you'll all know that I like the Nord colours. And to install the Nord colour theme, all you literally do is open a terminal as a normal user and run that command. Nord then appears as a colour scheme for you. There are detailed instructions here as well that tell you how to get it from all sorts of different distros. I think it's available in most distros, but like I say, you can just download it with a curl command anyway. And there are lots of options that you can add. So let's go to the options. And obviously these are just opening it up in their GitHub page. And just to give you an idea, these are all the different options that you can add as extras in your micro editor config file. And there's explanations here of what it does. But I'll leave you to read those. Let's just go to my terminal again, and this time use Micro and open up that same test script. So here it is, and you can see that I've already got the Nord color scheme applied to this, and it looks a lot crisper and cleaner than Nano, I must admit. It looks easy. And it comes out of the box with some fairly straightforward key bindings set. Again, if I move to this line, if I want to delete this line, well, I'll just use Control X. If I want to put it back, I use Control V. If I want to copy the line, well, I'd use Control C. And if I move up to a spare space, Control V rather, so you can see it uses standard key bindings. Interestingly enough, it seems to have multiple key binding sets. So although Control X will remove the line, so will Control K, which is the default cut line command in Nano. You have the option here to set whatever color scheme you want, and you do that by hitting Control E, which opens up a command interface at the bottom of the file, a little bit similar to what Vim uses. And if I wanted to set the color scheme, I type set color scheme, a space, and then I hit the tab, and you can see all the different color schemes along the bottom there, and I can simply move along. So they have something called Darkula, which is their version of Dracula. They have the Dracula True Color Scheme, Grovebox, Monachi. I quite like Monachi, and let's just hit that. And there you are. Dead simple to set your color scheme, really easy. And as I say, you can add other ones using the plugin system. If you want to view some of your basic key bindings, you'll see down here, it says Alt-G for key bindings. So let's open up Alt-G. And you have some basic things there. So it's Control-Q for quit, Control-S for save, Control-O for open. And I'm going along here, and strangely enough, they just list Control-K to cut the line, but Control-X will work as well. Control-F for find, Control-Z for undo, and so on and so forth. So let's just shut that. It also has a help system here, and similar to Nano, if I hit Control-G, it actually opens up a split screen here, and the micro help text is there, and it takes you through some of the basics. And you quit it just by hitting Control-Q. So, there's not a lot to this. It's dead simple. If you like messing about in a basic editor, but you want a little bit of colour there, and you want it to look good, and you want it to match your overall desktop theme, Micro may well be for you. It's almost like Nano, but it's been updated, and it's just a little nicer. Certainly worth a try. I keep both Nano and Micro on my systems. Right, I think that's it for today. Let's go and have a chat. Right, so that was Nano and Micro, and I'm sure I'm going to get in terrible trouble because I've even suggested that Vim might not always be the best editor for everything. I do think Vim's great. I personally use it these days, but as I said, I didn't do for years. And for people who don't spend all of their time in an editor, something like Nano or Micro might be more than adequate. Certainly, I swap and change all the time. Yes, people can run through the vimtutor, but if you're not using an editor all the time, the various key bindings and bits and pieces of functionality don't become hard-coded, and sometimes you just want to do a quick edit and a copy and a paste and something similar. So that's all for today, guys. Once again, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like and subscribe. If you'd like to support the channel, you can go to patreon.com/OldTechBloke, or if you'd just like to buy me a pint, nip over to my website and there's a PayPal button there. In the meantime, I'd like to thank my existing Patreons, and let me just bring the screen over, and that's Robert, Aristotelis, Mike, Ty, Forrest, Patrick, Glenn, Magnus, Darren, Mislav, Chris and James. Thank you very much, guys. Your support is much appreciated. So that's it, just a brief one today, guys. You had the long one last week with the Void video, which seems to be quite popular. I was quite surprised at that. But anyway, I'll see you all next week, and have a great weekend.